easy explained Buddhist philosophy, Nirodha. So this is largely being pulled from chapter 4 of What the Buddha Taught by Walpola Rahula. And chapter 4 covers the third noble truth, the third of the four noble truths, and that is Nirodha. So, quick summary. So far we've seen the first noble truth being dukkha, that there is suffering tied to our experience of being. The second noble truth is samudaya, which is where does the suffering come from? It comes from our thirst for continuing, to put it very briefly. And now this third one is nirodha. And what's that? Well, this is the concept of the end of that suffering, right? The cessation of dukkha. That's how we're going to define this and describe that, right? So no more suffering being tied to our experience of being. And what else does this mean? Well, there's another term you've probably heard of. They're technically different. They're very similar. I'm not going to get super into it here, but that is nirvana. And nirvana we're going to define as the extinction of thirst. So maybe just there you can see the slight difference in how we're slightly talking about different things. A lot of times they are grouped together though. But right, that's the point we're trying to get to, right? This is the end goal. This is the practical end goal of practicing Buddhist philosophy. This should be attainable. This should be in sight, right? And really what it means is you're just seeing the state of things as they are, right? You're seeing the truth. You're seeing reality. And it's really to be realized within, right? And this is your whys, right? You've achieved this, but achievement is a funny concept too. You know, especially when we get into Zen Buddhism, it's there really is nothing to achieve. It already is. But we can think of, arriving there, maybe, is a better way to think of it. That's what we're working with here with Nirodha and Nirvana. And, there's a term for someone who's realized this. It is an arahant. You're an arahant if you've realized nirvana, if you have ceased your suffering, if you've extinguished your thirst. And, a lot of times people think that this extinguishing the thirst, right, ending the suffering, in English, when we're talking about this, it sounds like it's a negative thing, right? Like we are subtracting something, we are doing less of something. But to be clear, to call someone an arahant does not mean they have done something negative. It is not they're not taking anything away. That's the tricky part of thinking about these concepts is that you really haven't stopped, or you haven't done without something per se if you have realized this. That's kind of one of the hills to climb over here in fully understanding this. It's a little tricky conceptually. But what comes along with this, right? If you are in Nirodha or Nirvana and you've ceased your suffering, you've extinguished your thirst, along with that is coming the absolute truth, right? The things that you really should be seeing in terms of Buddhist philosophy. And a big idea here is that there's nothing absolute in the world, right? There's no, this is it. Everything is relative. Everything is conditioned. Everything is impermanent. There is nothing that is unchanging, everlasting, or this concept of an absolute substance, right? Think, again, Buddhist philosophy kind of calling out some aspects of Hindu philosophy here. More specifically, we're getting at this idea there's no self, there's no soul, there's no Atman within or without, right? These concepts, just there's no provable truth to them. And finally, going back to this idea of nirvana and being an arahant, not being a negative term, this truth, this absolute truth, is not a result of anything one way or the other. Again, it's funny to say that you've achieved this or that you've removed, you've done without, you've subtracted, you've gone through some kind of minus process. That's not what's going on here, even though that's kind of the way it's easiest to talk about. We really just have to think about this as it is. This truth is. And you are realizing that, or you're not yet. So this is the third noble truth. Again, the first one is that there's dukkha, there is suffering. The second one is samudaya, that suffering comes from thirst. And this third one is nirodha, or nirvana, that there is and can be an end to this suffering and this thirst. So the fourth noble truth, the last one of the four, that'll be coming up next, and that is the prescription, the treatment, the way, the method, the practice to get here, right? That's a big one. We're going to look at that one next. But for now, I hope this helps.